The most important employees in your MSP are, of course, your technicians. The quality of them dictates the quality of the service that you can offer. But the biggest problem that MSPs have with their technicians is often where to find them in the first place. So I've got 3 smart ways for you to recruit the best technicians. Hey, I'm Paul Green from the MSP Marketing Edge, the leading white label content marketing system that's trusted by over 700 MSPs around the world. Check if your area is available right now at mspmarketingedge.com. Recruiting technicians is a headache for most MSP owners. And certainly in the first few years of your business, you find yourself always slightly behind on recruitment. You realize you need someone like today, and then the thought of having to invest dozens of hours in recruiting and interviewing people is actually a nightmare scenario, especially if you're already working 60 to 80 hours a week. And I don't think there's much of a way around that in your first few years of business. Maybe it's like a rite of passage, actually, that all business owners have to go through. Anyway, as your business grows and develops, I believe you have to take a more long-term approach to recruiting all staff, and especially technicians. You should always be looking at the amount of work that you're doing and what your existing technicians can achieve with a view on what's going to happen in the next 6 months or so. And if you can start to hire a good person months before you actually need them, that means you can onboard them properly, you can train them properly, and make sure they fit into the existing culture of the business. And yes, by the way, I know that this is really hard and it's hard to find the time to do this as your business grows, but I promise you it's something that you have got to get your head around at some point. So let me give you 3 really smart ideas to hire technicians. And the first of them is playing a long game on LinkedIn. Now this is going to take you about 10-20 minutes a week, but it will build you up a pipeline of potential hires for when you have a vacancy. And it's as simple as finding technicians on LinkedIn that you could work with in the future and then building up a relationship with them before you actually have a vacancy. And I really do believe that much of recruitment is actually a marketing problem rather than any other kind of problem. And this is a great example of that. So let's say there's a big company in town that employs lots of technicians, and you've often greedily eyed that company and thought, that could be a potential source of technicians for my business, which is a great way of thinking, by the way. So the long-term opportunity is to connect to as many of those technicians as you can on LinkedIn. So go onto LinkedIn, look at the company page, and go through all of the staff that work for that company. And then you when you find someone who is in a technical role, but not a management role, obviously, you make a connection request. And in your connection request, you know how you can put a note? Here, you just sort of want to build up a little bit of intrigue in the person you're connecting with. So your message might say something like, hey, hello, I run a local managed service provider, and I'm always looking to connect to great technicians in the area. Something simple as that. So you're not out and out saying that you're recruiting, you're just building your network, right? And let's assume you do that to a load of technicians and a percentage of them will accept your connection request. Not going to be a very high percentage, but some will, some won't. That's fine. Don't be put off if they don't, by the way, because there is always a delay in LinkedIn. You and I might be using LinkedIn every day, but someone who's employed, they may just use LinkedIn for getting their next job. So it may be some time before they accept your connection request. But once you connected to them, this is great, right? Because the next challenge is then to start to build a relationship with them. And you can do this by sending them a message on LinkedIn, just introducing yourself, asking a little bit about them. You might ask them about their background, how long they've worked at the company, all of that kind of stuff. And it's a bit like dating in that you don't want to ask too many in-depth questions too soon and put someone off, but you have to show a little bit of interest. It's that dating dance, isn't it, that you get at the beginning? And it's no different, really. You're looking for technicians who are showing a little bit of interest back. Because what we're trying to do here is have a short chat on LinkedIn and then ultimately see if they want to meet up for a coffee, a get-to-know-you coffee, not an actual date. Oh, and of course, you're doing this, remember, before you have any job vacancies to fill. So let's say you have met and had coffee with 2 or 3 technicians and you've gotten well with them and they have understood what you're trying to do with your business. You're understanding what they're looking for from a career point of view, and you just keep in touch with like a text message every 2 or 3 months. The second you have a job vacancy, you can just send them a text and say, hey, I've got a vacancy. Is this a good time to talk about you coming to work for us, or is this not a good time? And, you never know, do you? It's about getting the right job in front of the right person at the right time. The relationship building that you're doing before you have the vacancy is doing the hard work. Because the smart thing about this is all of that hard work is done. You've picked the person. You've figured out, would I want them to work for me? That's all done. Then when you have a job, it's just about seeing, is this the right time for that right person? And by the way, I have a really smart idea to reach more people working for that big company in your area. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But first is my second idea for you. And this is a way that you can stand out in job adverts. So let's say you don't have that pipeline that we've just been discussing building, because it does take time to build that up. But right now, you have a vacancy you need to fill today. And you're going to put a job advert out. And the problem with job adverts is that your adverts may seem exactly the same as all the other job adverts out there. And this is the same problem that MSPs have when they're trying to win new clients through marketing. If you look the same as all the other MSPs, then you're making it hard for clients to choose you. It's the same with recruitment. If you look the same as all the other employers, you're making it hard for new staff to choose you. So ask yourself, what can I do in my advert to stand out? I wrote an advert for the members of my MSP Marketing Edge. I did this years ago, and it has a headline something along the lines of, you don't want this job, or you don't want to work for us. And the whole advert is about dequalifying people. It's about why you wouldn't want to come and work for a company rather than that you would. Now, as you can imagine, that's the complete reverse of what most jobs are about. And that almost like reverse psychology approach is very, very powerful and makes it stand out. Please do go and try that. Let's go on to the third idea, and this is how you can reach more technicians working for that big company in your town who may want to come and work for you. Let's say the LinkedIn long game hasn't quite worked out for you, and again, you've got a vacancy to fill today. So here's a great idea. It's a little bit ballsy, but I do think it would work very well. Go and hire yourself one of those mobile billboard trucks. You must have them in your area, right? You put a giant poster on a billboard, which is on the back of a truck, and it drives around in the area you want it to. In this example, you want it to drive around outside the building of the big company that you're targeting, or even park up outside it. And the advert says something along the lines of, if you're not happy working at big company name, we are hiring technicians right now. And then you have a simple URL for them to go and have a look at all of the details. And I'd advise you not to use your standard website URL. Perhaps you'd have a funny URL like comeandworkforus.com or something like that. I'm sure you can find something. It only takes one technician to spot this during their lunch break or while looking out of the window, and word will soon spread amongst all the other technicians, because you can imagine them going, look at that over there. That advert, it's talking to us, right? It's clever, isn't it? Now, that advert alone isn't going to make them want to work for you. But what you're trying to do is reach the one technician who's working there who today is unhappy, who is ready to look at a different challenge, and they're going to go to that URL on their phone and maybe they'll get in touch with you. By the way, if you do this, do expect an angry phone call from someone in management at the company, but remember, you're doing nothing wrong. All you're doing is advertising a vacancy the same as you would do on a job board. You just happen to be doing it on a big truck, which is parked outside their building. Not really doing anything wrong. I think it's pretty smart, but I can understand if the management could get angry. Can't you?
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.